Congratulations on booking a call. Hi, I'm Ryan Gray from Law Firm Marketing Hub, and most firms come to us because they want more leads. But that's only part of the picture, because I know that 93% of firms cannot get digital marketing to work for them. So I want to share with you what works, why it works, and give you the confidence that you can get great results too. Now, I want to provide for you a quantum leap, not just incremental gains. And for a quantum leap to occur, it means that you need more than just another script or an ad or a template or something like that. What you need is a complete change in strategy. And part of that strategy comes from you as the law firm owner. What I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you to step into something that you haven't tried before so that you can get results like you've never achieved before. And part of that is stepping into a new mindset, a new way of thinking about things so that you can get some extreme results. But what's going to happen is that excuses and reasons for not going ahead are going to come up. And that's normal, because what I'm about to show you is probably going to be just a bit outside your comfort zone. But if you want some extreme results, then that's the path that we need to take. We need to do what other people are not doing. Now, I have a friend who recently, in the last few months, has consistently added $500,000 a month to his business, or thereabout. Now, when we've spoken recently, I've been really happy for him, but I've noticed something interesting. My mind has gone to all the reasons he's been able to add $6 million, and I haven't in the last 3 months. There's been things like, oh yeah, but it's the industry you're in, the product that you're selling allows you to do that, your market's in more pain, they want to move faster, you've got a product that allows people to buy immediately. And what I found was that my mind was going to all of these excuses as to why it had happened for him, but not for me. And then I realized that this is what we all do. As soon as we're presented with a new opportunity, we start coming up with all of these reasons why it can't work. But here's the thing. The market doesn't determine how well you do necessarily. That comes from you as a business owner, as a law firm owner, and the decisions that you make on a daily basis. Now see, I've been through a couple of recessions now, and it's interesting just to watch what everybody does, because I've noticed that a lot of people will pull back. They get gripped with fear, and they're like, oh, we should stop our marketing. Now, I remember during the COVID pandemic that in the first week, we lost $250,000 of revenue in that first week. And it was really interesting, despite giving all of our clients advice, hey, no, look, you need to double down during this period, that many of them actually pulled out entirely. And what we saw was that those who did double down on their marketing actually did incredibly well during the pandemic, and those who didn't shrunk their businesses, lost good staff, had to contract their business. Now, we actually doubled down and we did extremely well during COVID, but that certainly wasn't the case for many businesses. Now, I looked at what successful businesses were doing back in the 2008 to 2010 recession. And what I realized was that the big businesses, the ones who were doing really well, they actually doubled down on their marketing. And so I started giving this advice to our clients, and I started seeing the same thing happening. So when things got a bit bumpy, a bit rocky, I said, great, well, look, you should double down on your marketing. We started doing this in our own business. Every time things got a bit tight, every time there was something in the news or some sort of, issue or that was causing the market to contract, we decided to get people to double down, and we decided to double down ourselves. And what we realized was that we actually have control. We have control of how much marketing we do. We have control of how many leads we get. We have control of how we process those leads. And ultimately, we have control of how much money we make in just about any economy. Now, do you have to pivot sometimes? Yes, sure. But generally speaking, we're in control of our own businesses. But here's the thing. You have to do what everyone else is not doing, and that can be uncomfortable. So the question is, how can I elevate my brand and position myself as different and unique, not doing what everyone else is doing? So how do you get to stand out and earn people's trust and gain their attention? Because we're in an attention economy right now, and whoever has the most attention makes the most money, which means there's a direct correlation between how much attention you have and how much money you make. But you say, hey, look, I'm only a small, medium-sized law firm. How can we command massive attention like some of the big guys? Now, the good thing is, The big guys are doing the exact same thing that the small guys are doing. The big guys have just found the small secret on how to consistently convert more leads into paying clients. But the principles are the same. They are commanding attention. And in the digital economy, you can command as much attention as you like. So what are you doing right now to position yourself as unique and different? What are you doing to stand out? What are you doing consistently and correctly? Because that's really important. You have to be consistent and applying good marketing principles correctly. Because by being consistent, you'll be able to establish yourself as the industry expert. And to do that, you have to do the opposite of what everyone else is doing, which means not saying things like, hey, we have so many years of experience, we care, we're a leading law firm, get the outcome you want, and even to some extent hiring lead generation agencies, because leads are plentiful. The problem is most people cannot turn a lead into a paying customer or paying client. So if you're after an extraordinary result, you need to be extraordinary. You have to be doing something different, and you can't be saying the same things as everybody else. We have to step it up. We have to look at new strategies, new mindsets, and new approaches to how you're doing your marketing. And the thing is, referrals are great, but referrals are more an indicator of how good your service is and less of an indicator of how fast you're able to drive your firm's growth. You can't ask for more referrals. I mean, you can, but people can only give so many. The thing is, with marketing, you're able to turn the dial up and down whenever you want. You have to know the right knobs to turn and buttons to push to get those results. See, where referrals are not a highly leveraged growth strategy, they're more a byproduct of doing a great job, marketing gives you full control of what you're doing, as long as you do it right. Now, I'm going to show you how to get more attention from people and how to build a deep relationship with them quickly so that they turn up with their wallet in hand, asking to become a client, instead of saying, "Who are you again? Why are you calling me?" And the secret comes down to attention. If you can capture and hold their attention, they will see you as the industry expert and market leader. Now, the biggest issue that you face in law firm marketing is that your service is a commodity. It seems the same as everyone else, and largely that's because everyone's saying more or less the same thing. Now, what's a commodity? A commodity is something that you can get plenty of. There are lots of competitors, lots of services that are exactly the same, that the outcome that they get will be identical no matter who they go with, which we know is not actually the case. But the problem is, your consumer, your client, or your prospective client sees you and lumps you into the same basket as everybody else, which is incredibly unhelpful. And what happens with a commodity is that it ends up competing entirely on price, and that's it. Because people just choose the cheapest option. If everything is more or less the same, they're going to choose the cheapest price that they can. It's like if you were to say, hey, look, I'm going to buy a pen. It's a commodity. There are 1,000 of these. Yes, there are different shapes and colors. Maybe there's a gold one. Maybe this one's silver. Maybe there's 1,000 other different ways you could do it. But at the end of the day, a pen is a pen. It's a commodity. The only thing that it has going for it, unless it's a particular brand of pen, unless it's a particular collectible or something like that, then it's going to compete on price. And that's what we don't want to happen for your services. Now, I really want to impress upon you this concept of being a commodity, because if you are seen as a commodity, and most law firms are, then it's going to be incredibly difficult to charge higher prices, to convert lots of clients, to even get leads in the first place, because you're essentially saying the same thing. But the good news is there is a solution to this. You can position yourself as the expert. Now, people are typically researching what they need months before they actually make contact, or months before it's fully in the front of their brain, where they're like, oh, great, let's take action on this now. I need something. I need to actually pay someone for this service. When they're at that point, they're a great lead. But we know that there's only about 3% of people in that buying zone at any one time. So what we need to do is we need to present ourselves as the expert well before people actually need our services, if we want them to turn up and hand over their credit card. Now, I've got some great news, because nobody is doing this, at least not consistently. Let me ask you a quick question. Do you know who the top real estate agent in your area is? Do you know who the top accountant is? Do you know who the top physiotherapist is? Probably not, because none of them are actually positioning themselves as the industry expert, as the market leader. And it's the exact same thing with law firms. Most law firms don't position themselves as that industry leader. Now, I'm going to give you a transformational strategy in just a moment, but I just want to look at how many actual lawyers and attorneys there are in the country. Okay, so there's 1.3 million in the US. There's 1.3 million attorneys in the USA. Now in Australia, there's 84,000. In the UK, there's 220,000. And even if we segmented that down by practice area, you're still competing against literally thousands of lawyers and attorneys in your practice area. So you're going to get lost in the crowd if you're doing what everyone else is doing, if you're not seen as that industry expert. So now what do you think would happen if your prospective clients started seeing you everywhere? If every time they open their web browser, you were there, if when they went to YouTube, when they opened their inbox, when they browsed social media, if they started seeing you in all of these different places, how do you think that would change their opinion of you? Do you think when they turned up as a lead, when they responded to a Google or a Facebook ad or some other type of ad, do you think that their opinion of you would be, hey, I know them, I like them, and I actually trust them a bit because they've given me some great information. And especially if you've given them some great advice, they haven't just seen you, they've actually consumed some of your advice, some of your information, some of your direction, and they've got some value from that. Imagine what that does to their opinion. So you can see that you actually can get a lot of face time with people, some one-on-one time, without you or your team having to be present. And this is a phenomenal way to build that relationship. And you can do this quite deeply with prospective clients by simply giving them some great value content, whether that's by video, and we do heavily advocate video, especially if they can get 1 hour, 2 hour, 5 hours, 7, 10 hours of content with you prior to actually becoming a client, because they will just turn up in a much better headspace. Now, if someone's turned up having consumed a bit of content from you, do you think they're in a better or worse headspace when you're asking them to buy from you? Now, does this mean that you don't need leads? Absolutely not. You absolutely need leads. You have to have leads. You have to have new interested potential clients at least making an inquiry with your business. But the thing is, how do you make a large amount of content quickly and easily? Okay, if you just go at this and just try and produce content, it's not going to work. You have to educate, you have to inspire, you have to motivate, and you have to transform as well. Those are the criteria for which we see as good quality content. And that's what we show you how to produce in the course. We do help you with the leads, we give you all the templates, and I'll cover all of that in a minute. But what we found is that if you have help, you're much more likely to succeed at this. Now, there was a study done called the Change or Die study. And in that study, what they found was that people presented with a change or die situation, 90% of them, so 9 out of 10, would not change. They still hadn't changed after a certain period of time. Now, these guys were presented with situations where if you don't change your diet, then you're going to die. If you don't change your exercise habits, then you're going to die. And they were presented with a certain series of scenarios that were actually true that would have caused them to die if they hadn't made their change. And so with 9 out of 10 choosing to continue on, it actually shows how hard changing our habits are. And if you want that quantum level of success, those quantum leaps to success, then you do have to make some pretty major changes in the operation of your law firm. Not at a service delivery level, but in your client acquisition strategy and in your client acquisition mindset. Now, what they also found was that people who had some help to change, about 7 out of 10, more or less, actually succeeded. So the vast majority were able to succeed as opposed to the vast majority failing horribly in their efforts to change. And that's where we come in. We want to help you to make the changes that are necessary, both from a mindset perspective, from a strategy perspective, and from the actual tactical execution of how to generate new business for your law firm. So who is this program for? It's for law firm owners who are looking to stand out, even if you're new. It's for law firm owners who want to build momentum. They're already doing okay, but they just want to do better. And it's for law firm owners who are doing really well, but really want to dominate in their area. And here's the thing. A few things are going to stand in your way. You're going to say, oh, look, digital marketing produces low conversion rates. And generally speaking, it does. But here's the thing. If you implement a conversion system, if you implement the education system, if you're valuable and useful, then you can increase that considerably. Now, what we've found is that in a best case scenario, just off straight internet lead, you're probably only going to be able to convert about 7%. Most businesses are sitting in that kind of 1 to 3% mark. Great businesses who are doing everything right, who are calling the leads quickly, who are following up, who are nurturing their leads, they're probably in around that 7% range. Now, if you want to get to a 20, 30, 40, 50% conversion rate where you're not burning a lot of your team's time and you've got attorneys doing actual money work as opposed to, the grunt work of producing leads and processing leads. Now, there's likely to be a few things that stand in your way on this. You might have tried digital marketing before, and you'll know that even in a best case scenario, even if you do everything right, if you call leads quickly, if you are following up well, if you're doing all of the right things to process your leads, you're probably still only going to get to about 7% conversion. Now, most law firms are around that 1 to 3% mark, and it just doesn't make sense for them to process so many leads to get so little return, and so they end up stopping their marketing. But if you compare that to a firm that's converting at 20, 30, 40, 50% conversion and turning that many leads into actual paying clients, then you would need to process 6 times, 7 times, 8 times the amount of leads to get the same result as someone who's converting a lot higher. Now, the other thing we hear is that it just takes so long to get rolling. The thing is, if you go it alone, you pay what's called the stupid tax. Now, this is where you bang your head against the wall and you figure out what doesn't work, what doesn't work, what doesn't work. It's the Thomas Edison model. It's, I found 999 ways that the light bulb didn't work, and then I finally found the one that did. And then he had his invention that transformed the world. Now, you can do it that way, or you can tap into the campaigns that work, the content creation that works, the systems that produce it faster, the ways to shortcut all of that so that you can speed up the process. Now, can you get this information other places? Sure, there's probably a billion videos about how to process leads correctly, but the thing is, you're going to have to try every single one of those to see if they work. Now, instead of that, you can hire a professional to shortcut and shorten that entire process. And the last thing that I hear a lot is, look, I'm not willing to risk it. And that's fair enough. But in business, we know that money comes to those who take the risk. It's not the employee. It's not the person who plays it safe. It's the business owner, the law firm owner who takes the risk. Now, the more risk you take, typically the higher the return. Now, does it always pay off? No, it doesn't. But again, if you're using a professional who's done it before, who has access to the systems, who can plug you in to the things that work, then it reduces your risk considerably. But if you're not willing to take a risk, then you can't ever expect to have high risk rewards on a low risk mindset. It's not saying you should throw caution to the wind or anything like that. It's to take a calculated risk, but it's about being smart about it. It's not having extremely high expectations when you're not willing to take any risk at all. So taking a risk does factor into the equation of getting that quantum results. So let's take a look at what's in the program. On our call, we'll show you how to get leads for your firm. We'll show you ads to run, platforms to use, the landing pages and funnels that work well, the technology that makes all of this really easy. We'll show you the additional conversion strategies that shortcut your time to making a return on your investment. And we'll show you the multi-million-dollar mindset that's critical for keeping this success long term. And now let me finish with a question. Are you going to be okay if in 3, 6, 12 months from now that you're in the same position? What about in 2 years, in 3 years? Now, things might gradually, incrementally improve. Are you going to be okay with that slow incremental improvement, or do you want a quantum leap in your results? Now, if you're not okay, we're really looking forward to seeing you on the call, and we're looking forward to having a great conversation around how we can assist you speed things up and achieve some great results for your firm.